scallion pancakes because I'm craving it. And it turns out it's more difficult than it looks. So I figured out how to actually do it to get the flaky layers. Thanks to a Chinese grandma I saw on YouTube. I'll link her down below too. Oh yeah, watch till the end because there is some serious pancake flipping shit going on. I'm gonna be using this teriyaki sauce from Diet Daddy made by my very pretty aunt and her husband. It's available on Instagram, so I'm just gonna put the link down below. So we'll start with flour in a bowl and pour hot water directly on it. I have substituted part of the water with teriyaki sauce to give it more flavor. However, if you do not have that, just use water and it works out just fine. I find that hot water makes the dough way easier to work with and gives a chewier texture, hence I'm using that method. Give it a good stir and we'll let this rest for 30 minutes so the flour can hydrate itself and make it easier to work with. Now give that the mandatory pat and we'll start chopping up some scallions while we are waiting. As you can see, I have no knife skills at all, even though I work in a kitchen. Another cool trick is to keep the white parts of your scallions, put them in a jar of water, wait a few days and you have new scallions growing like this one. Now that 30 minutes is up, we can start kneading. You can do that either by hand like this or with a mixer like this. If you decide to take on the challenge of kneading with your hands, this is how you should do it. It took me approximately around 20 minutes to get that smooth elastic dough I was looking for. So what you do is stretch the dough out and pull it back to the center. Stretch the dough out, pull it back to the center. Stretch the dough out, pull it back to the center. It is gonna be quite sticky at some point and it's really tempting to add more flour, but please do not. Just keep sticking to the process and keep kneading. After you get to the 10-minute mark, check on your dough, see how elastic it is so you'll know how far you have to go. Look how easily that broke. Long way to go. Finally, after 20 minutes, the dough has enough tension to hold that window test. It's not breaking, so we are good to go. Lightly flour your work surface and the dough. Roll it into a log shape and divide it into two. Lightly oil the palm of your hand and the ball of dough. And try to create even more tension on the surface of the dough by balling it up and rolling it against the palm of your hand. This way, it will give us a chewier pancake. Once it's a tight round ball, put it aside and leave it to rest. Again, another pat on the dough for good luck. Cover your dough with plastic film to prevent it from drying out and forming a skin. We will take one dough first and start rolling it out. Lightly flour your work surface and the ball of dough again. And take your rolling pin and roll it out to as thin as possible. Try to keep it as rectangular shape as possible, as it will be easier for you to roll it up later. You think this is thin enough? No, it's still a long way to go. Keep rolling. You want it really, really thin. Once it starts sticking on the table, I like to use my hands and peel it off and stretch it out. Use the stickiness of the dough as an anchor for you to stretch the dough even more. You want to be able to stretch your dough as thin as this, as if it might break anytime soon. Now pour 1 1.5 to 2 tablespoonfuls of sesame oil in the center of the dough. We are going to take the corners of the dough and fold it to the center so the oil gets distributed this way. If there's not enough oil, you can always add more, but just make sure you don't add too much, as it will be a pool of slippery oil and dough, which is really hard to work with. You also need sufficient oil, as this is what will be giving you those amazing, beautiful layers. Once all the surface is coated with oil, we can start sprinkling the scallions. I love scallions, so I put a ton of it. But it all depends on what you like. And then sprinkle some salt and white pepper to give it extra flavor. And we can start rolling. You want to make sure it's quite a loose roll instead of a tight one, because that is what will let you have the distinct layers. If it's too tight, it will just be a very thick, doughy pancake, which is not what we're after. Once that's all rolled up, we are gonna trim the edges, as those gives us a very dense and doughy texture as well, which I really do not like. Next, we are gonna start twirling it. First, pour some oil on your palms to prevent it from sticking. And then we're gonna tightly twirl it before curling it into the middle. It is gonna untwirl, it's gonna make a big mess, scallion's gonna come out, but it's alright. Just keep going, twirling it and trying to make it work your way. Now that you have the twirl, we'll take one end and curl it to the middle. Take the other end and curl it on top of the first curl. Then gently tuck the edge into the center. And then give it a firm slap. Force as many scallions back into the pancake and leave that aside for now. Confused? Let's do it again. Twirl really tight. Take one edge and start curling to the center. Next, take the other edge and curl it on top of the first one. Tuck the end into the center and then slap it. Another tip is to always make sure your centers are not too doughy. So you just want to check in the middle if there's too much dough or not. And if all the layers are nicely curled and twirled. That way you'll get a uniform, airy, flaky, textured pancake. At this point, we can freeze the dough or cook it. Either way, I like to roll it in between two plastic films, as it's easier to transfer it around and nothing sticks to the rolling pin. Try to roll your pancake as circular as possible, unless you want hipster looking pancakes. Try to get the thickness of 0.8 to 1 centimeter as such. If you plan to freeze your pancake, this is how you should do it. Just wrap it around itself and pop it in the freezer. Now we're gonna start cooking. Refer to the descriptions down below for the exact timing of this cooking procedure. We will be cooking the pancake on medium heat, browning each side and constantly flipping. We also use a lid to cover it so that the insides will get cooked through. Once both sides have been fried once, take two spatulas and slightly crush the pancake into each other. This way the layers will start separating and it will create a nice crispy crust. Another way to separate those layers is by slapping the pancake on the pan. So this is where you will be flipping the pancake many times. You want as much air time as possible, so the pancake will slap the pan really hard and it will make those layers poof up. To get the golden brown color on your crust, it's time to do the massive pancake flip. was some serious pancake flipping skills, eh? Comment down below how to rate it. And we are done. The pancake is a nice golden brown color. The layers puffed up perfectly. Now it's the crunch test. This is my favorite way of eating it. Tearing it all apart, exposing all those perfect layers. Teriyaki sauce is a great dip as well. However, you can just make your own with some soy sauce and vinegar and you're good to go. Don't those layers give you satisfaction? This technique suits me the best and I hope it works really well for you too. Don't forget to give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, by the way, look at that, my scallion's growing. How cute is that?